Hey, I'm going to show you guys how to change your oil on the car. Very easy and very effective. I'm not going to use my car today. You guys already know that but anyways, I'm going to use my brother's car, and I'm going to show you everything, all the very necessary and proper steps to replacing your oil, which you should do the book usually says 3,000 miles. I do mine every 4,000. I usually tend to use high mileage oil on high vehicles. I recommend Castrol GTX high mileage. I'm not a big fan of synthetic oil, but you can use whatever you want, but that's what I use. That's what I recommend to other people too, and they love it. So let's get started. Alright, to change the oil, you can use a few tools. If your oil filter on the car has a cap on it, you're going to need a wrench, a specific wrench to take that cap off. For this car, we couldn't use the adjustable wrench because it's just like, it doesn't work at an angle. And this one, so we got out and bought one. It's like $5, and it has to be the appropriate size for the oil filter cap. So you need this. You're gonna need a washer for your drain plug for the oil pan. You need to replace the washer every time, so you need a new washer. Then you're gonna need a bucket to catch the oil when you drain it. Then you're gonna need the engine oil. This is what I use on my car. GTX high mileage. This is my most favorite for the past 4 years. So yeah, it depends on what you want. So just get the appropriate viscosity for your car. Oh, then you need a new oil filter. Get a new oil filter every time. Your instruction booklet says to get it every other oil change, but I recommend you change it every oil change. So yeah, that's all you need. You're gonna need wrenches, a wrench and a socket. Every drain plug, this is a drain plug for your oil pan. Every drain plug requires a different size. Most commonly it's 17, but on my car it's a 14 because I got a different one. Every car is different, so just make sure you have the right socket for your drain plug, and then a socket and a ratchet will do the work. And that's all you need, that's all the tools you need. You want to find a supportive frame to put the jack underneath the car. Since this car doesn't have a frame in the front, we're going to use the sides and then put jack stands there first. After the car is jacked up, you're going to use jack stands because jacks tend to leak air, and so you want to use this just for safety. Make sure your parking brake is on, and if you're an automatic, make sure it's in park. So put that parking brake on. Lower the jack to rest on the jack stands. Repeat this process on both sides of the car. Once both sides of the car have been fully supported by jack stands, get rid of that hydraulic jack, and then we're going to start working on the car. You're going to pop the hood first. Locate the cap for the engine oil. For this car, it's right here. It's that one right there. It should say like the oil information on it, 5W20. And if it doesn't say it, you're gonna know which one. It's usually on top of the valve cover. This is the valve cover of the car. And you see spark plugs. It's usually right here. It should be easy to access. Open it and just leave the cap somewhere safe. And just leave it open for this procedure. Go underneath the car and locate the drain plug for your engine oil. Usually the oil pan is somewhere near the oil filter. This is the oil filter. Our drain plug is right here behind, facing the rear. Find the appropriate size socket and remove that bolt. Get a container. I have this one, and just get it because the oil will spill into the container, and you're basically draining all the oil out. I just loosened the bolt with a wrench. Every car is different. This one uses a 17 millimeter socket, and just make sure you have your pan underneath there to catch it, and just use your hand. Oil should come right out into the pan. Make sure there's a washer on the drain bolt. Make sure it comes off. Sometimes it gets stuck onto the oil pan itself, so just make sure if it gets stuck or not. Just make sure the washer is off the car, and you're gonna have to replace this washer. Alright, this is the oil filter cap. Find the appropriate Allen wrench, which I did, and this is the drain plug for the oil filter cap. and unscrew it. I mean, ideally, oil is gonna spill out of this, but I decided to take this cap out earlier. This is just for demonstration. But yeah, take this bolt out, and then oil should ideally fall into the bucket, where the camera is right now. And then you take this cap off. Not every car has a cap over the oil filter, but this one does. So this is my ratchet, and it's stuck to the cap. You just put the bucket underneath. Actually, yeah, put the your bucket of oil underneath it. Then loosen this. When you're waiting for the oil to drain out completely into the bucket, you want to, during this time, you should remove the old washer. I had to cut mine. These are not ordinary washers. Mine is called crush washers, which means that basically when you tighten the drain plug onto the oil pan, this gets squeezed. It gets squeezed in between the two, and then it starts to expand. And it also expands when the oil pan is hot. So when it expands, it gives it a better seal, which means that oil will not. It will decrease the chance of the oil leaking out of the oil pan from the drain plug. So mine expanded so much that it just got stuck onto the drain plug bolt, and I had to just cut it with a plier, and it's just easy. So get a new washer and put it over the old one, just like that. The reason why your instruction booklet tells you to change your washer is because I've experienced this before. I used the same washer like through 10 oil changes before, and it's ridiculous because you're basically overusing the washers and their effect wears out, and it doesn't seal oil as good as before. And then when that happens, you tend to strip the thread on the bolt easier. And I had experienced this before, and the bolt was so stripped, I had to buy a new drain plug bolt. So it's better to strip the bolt than the oil pan threads. So yeah, always replace this. So a lot of people make the same mistake. It's not even that expensive, just replace it. After the oil is completely drained, you're gonna get the drain plug again with the new washer, and just plug it back in. Make sure you don't cross thread. Nice. Just like that. Go by hand first. Make sure there's no washer attached to the oil pan. Yep, this is good. There's nothing behind there. Yeah, just one washer. Don't use two. Alright, after that, use the wrench. Mine would be a 17, and tighten it. Hand tighten it. Do not over tighten, please. I'd rather you under tighten than over tighten, because you do not want to strip any of this component, especially the thread on the oil pan. So just hand tighten it to a good amount, just till it feels really sturdy. Don't over tighten it. So I think this is good. Just a little bit more. Alright, that's good. I'm gonna stop. I'm scared. Alright, what you see here is the filter wrench adapter. This is the cap for the oil filter. It has a lot of oil, so we're gonna dump it into the drain. You're gonna keep this cap, and this is the oil filter. This particular Mazda has a spring inside the oil filter. I just shook it out. You keep the spring, keep that spring. You're just gonna trash this whole thing. This is the new one. Make sure you get the one appropriate for your car. This Mazda is very unique. Usually when I work on cars, it's so much easier to change the oil. It doesn't even have a cap for it, but this car just has a little bit more than usual. This is the new filter. This is what I'm talking about. It has a new gasket. It comes with a new gasket. Usually they come with a new gasket. And then you're gonna have a small ring. This one has a small gasket for the drain plug on oil filter cap. This is the drain plug for it. This is the drain plug for the oil cap. There is a rubber gasket on it. The new oil filter came with a small gasket also. So this means that you're gonna have to replace it. If it doesn't come off easily, use a screwdriver and pry it out, or even cut it out, because you're not gonna use it anymore. So swap it out. I hooked out the old one and put on the new rubber gasket right there. If you look very closely at the cap, there's actually a rubber gasket, a huge one, and it's so camouflaged into the cap that you can't even see it, but you can feel it. Get something like a screwdriver and just remove that gasket. Just like that. This is the new one they gave us. Put the new one on. There you go. The new one is on. Get this whole thing. Put it back where it came from, the housing. You're gonna want to get the oil filter cap wrench and tighten this with the wrench. Do not over tighten it. Just how you treated like the drain plug over there at the engine oil pan. You're just gonna tighten it until it's very sturdy. I think this is good. Here are all the tools from underneath the car. Over there. And now it's time to drop the car. Jack up the sides of the car again, each side at a time, and remove the jack stands, and then drop the car. Alright, this is the easiest part. Get a funnel, put on top of the hole where you're supposed to put the oil in. Looking at your car's owner's manual, and it'll tell you the capacity of your oil. If you don't have an owner's manual or it doesn't say it at all, just keep filling. Fill chunks at a time, and then keep checking your dipstick for the oil level. On the side of the bottle, it usually tells you, there's an indicator telling you how much oil you already poured in. Pour in 4, so I'm going all the way down. Check the dipstick. Around the car, it's usually easy to identify where the dipstick for the oil is. It's usually, they want you to check it, so they make it easy to find. Wipe off the old oil. 2 holes on the stick. Make sure you get it in the middle, between the 2 holes. Do not go underneath the minimum hole, and do not go past the maximum hole. If I were you, I would just put the oil level at 80%. It's better to be below the maximum level than above the maximum level, because if it's above the maximum hole, that's really bad for your engine. You're basically overflowing the camshafts with oil, and it doesn't have it's like you're suffocating it basically. You can think of it that way. So it's better to be like in the middle than on the dot. So a lot of people make this mistake. They always go right on the maximum dot. Do not do that, because you risk your chance of going a little bit over. You don't know. So just keep it in the middle. It's not really accurate because the new oil hasn't flown through the engine yet, and it hasn't even gone through the oil filter yet. So what you're gonna do now is put back the engine oil cap. I'm gonna start the car up, let it warm up for like a minute or something, so all the oil shoots out everywhere inside the engine. And then when it goes through all of the components inside the engine, it'll give you a more accurate reading. And then you can adjust the oil level by adding more oil and let it sit in between those 2 dots. Like I would say like 80% again. Alright, you're gonna turn off the car and let it sit for like a minute, so all the oil starts to drip down to the bottom. Alright, after the oil has time to settle, open it back up, put the funnel back in, take the dipstick out, wipe it, add a lot more. 90%. Now you know exactly how to change your oil properly. I hope this tutorial helps a lot, and just good luck on your oil changing.